Just give me a reason to keep my heart beating. Don't worry, it's safe right here in my arms. As the world falls apart around us, all we can do is hold on, hold on.
What is up, guys? DT Ninja back from hiatus to give you my review on Itachi Shinden. And first we're going to look at the anime adaptation for Naruto Shippuden, episode 451 that just came out last night, and I'm going to be reviewing that. But I'm one that actually bought the novels, so we're going to be looking at the novelization version as well. So we're not going to be looking at the Dark Knight, the Dark Knight today, because this is actually further into Itachi Shinden. But we will be looking at some passages from the Book of Light or Bright Future. So I have some pages here that these are my translations that I actually did for the novel, and so I'm going to share some of them, and we're going to be looking at some differences and similarities of how the anime adaptation kind of did it on their own, went further than the novel, and some parts they didn't do as much, and more details are in the novel. So without further ado, let's get started. Basically, we're going to start off with the chapter. I said the chapter. Wow, it's been a while. Okay, well, I'm not really an anime episode reviewer, so bear with me here. But anyway, the dream world. Okay, so I love how the studio decided to make it go back to the canon. It's like the filler is over. Oh, hallelujah, Like, and when I first saw it, I was like, okay, wait a second. I thought it was Itachi Shinden, and then I thought about it for a second. I was like, wait, but this is canon. I remember this in the series. So it was great how they put the actual canon from the manga back into this episode. Now, the first half of this episode is all canon from the manga itself. So we got the dream world. We have Naruto and Sasuke, and they're in the Susanoo with Kakashi and Sakura, and this is where Kakashi is trying to talk to Sasuke, and he's like, you're no better than Sakura. Please be quiet. You shouldn't have any, say in this. And then Naruto's getting pissed off. He's like, we should be doing this as a team. And Sasuke reveals to him that everyone's in the dream world. We're stuck here. So you listen to me. I'm the one in charge. So this is where we get to see all of the dreams. And I do like this part, but I'm not going to focus on my review on this. But I do have some color scans that I translated from Shushia, and I wanted to share those with you. And these are the dreams. So we're going to look at those, so it gives you an idea of what was in this episode. So take a look. Alright guys, so as you can see, we saw some of the dreams. My favorite dreams were probably Hinata's. Shikamaru's was really great. I love Gaara's. Gaara's was great. You get to see, the fourth Kazekage, just, laying out on the couch, and you see Naruto smiling, coming in, and then Tamari's dream was interesting as well, having, the helpless brothers. That was really great. Lee's was pretty funny, you know, defeating Neji and Naruto, and then, you know, he gets, like, the kiss from Sakura, or, you know, he's like, I love you, you know. But anyway, that was pretty much it for the dream world part of the chapter, and we see kind of the different nations. You know, you see the Fire Nation, obviously, Konoha. You see the Wind Nation. You see all these nations that are under this Tsukuyomi, and then we see. Sasuke. Okay, then we see Sasuke, and Sasuke's like, okay, he's remembering Itachi's words, and he goes back to that moment, you know, and he's like, these are his memories, you know, he's like thinking back, and he's like, these are his memories, but then, like, suddenly, he's like, in that memory, he's like, wait, these aren't just memories, you know? These aren't just memories. These are this is Itachi's life. And this is what I like about what they did here. I'm not sure if this is exactly what they did, but my interpretation is this. Sasuke's eyes right now are Itachi's. So we're seeing it through Itachi's eyes here. And then, you know, Sasuke looks up at Madara and he's like, you know, you have no idea who my brother really was. And then we go right into the battlefield scene, you know, the third great ninja war. And that was some crazy stuff. You know, you see like kunais, you know, going against each other. You see, you know, obviously dead bodies everywhere, you know, people bloody. And then you see first you see Itachi running through the cave. The cave scene was pretty cool. And then he gets out of the cave and he's on a cliff and he's like looking out and he sees everyone just killing each other, you know. And then there's this scene at the beginning, and this was one scene that I did a live reaction on, and this is where at the very end, it's kind of the end of the battle. Everyone's, you know, lying dead on the ground, and the stone ninja says he needs water. He's like, Mizu, you know, and Itachi goes to him and gives him water, and then this ninja literally sees that he's a ninja, or he's like. He didn't think he was a ninja, but then he's realizing, where's his kunai at? You know, his kunai's gone. And he realizes he's a ninja, or, you know, the enemy. And he goes up and he's about to attack him, and Itachi just slashes him, you know, just by instinct. And that was crazy. That was crazy. And I was in shock when I saw that. I was like, whoa. I mean, this is a 4-year-old, and he's killing without hesitation, you know. Also, it's basically to protect himself, but at the same time, this guy saw all that, and then he helped him, and then the guy tried to kill him. That was just, wow. That was a really shocking one. Okay, now, the battlefield scene, right after that, you know, he's like, Doshite, you know, Tosan, Doshite. Why did he do that to me? Why did he try to kill me? And he's like, well, this is reality, son, you know? This is war. You know, it's kill or be killed. And he's like, you know, this is how the ninja world operates, you know? Meaningless death is the path for a ninja, because nations are going to fight against each other. It's not individuals. And that is something that's very interesting that Fugaku, you know, mentions, because really when we're thinking about it, we're thinking about individuals, especially Itachi when he's seeing everyone. But when it's talking about, you know, nations themselves, you know, they're dying for their nations, not even realizing, you know, the reason, you know. So I thought that was interesting. Now, the differences between the battlefield scene and the anime. The anime was really well done. I really liked the animation. It was well done. But one part of the battlefield scene that was shocking in the novelization was the very beginning, and that was not shown. Well, actually, I have to say this, that the scene in the novelization didn't show any of the fighting. It showed the aftermath. So in a way, it kind of went further than before even that part. So, but anyways, I'm going to read a passage for you guys. This is between Fugaku and Itachi. Just like I said, why did he try to kill me? This is kind of right after that. Fugaku says, "Remember this well, son. This is the battlefield." And then it says, "Bodies, bodies, bodies. It was a mountain of bodies as far as the eye could see. And there was nothing like the expression of calmness. All of these motionless bodies, expressions filled with pain." And Fugaku says, "You too, in a few years, will be a ninja. And unless the war comes to a close, the reality of shinobi will not change. The world you are about to step into you're only at the tip of it." And then this is where Itachi says why. So in a way, it's a little bit more detailed here, but at the same time, it shows more of the aftermath rather than the actual fighting. So I liked how the anime added the fighting to give you that, shock factor at how young Itachi is and how he's, actually understanding what's going on, Okay, and then Fugaku says, "For the war?" And Itachi says, "Why in this place?" And he says, "You are a very smart child. And because of that, I wanted to show you this monstrous reality." And then Itachi's like, "This is reality? This is reality?" So this is where he starts to question what is life? What is the meaning of life? Because later on, we see this in a few minutes later, he talks to a few people. So anyway, I'm going to go into a little more detail here. He says, "This is the world that I live in? Yes, Itachi, a shinobi is one who fights, so don't forget what you've seen today." And then this is the very interesting one. It says that in the back of Itachi's eyes, he felt a sharp pain, something warm, different from tears that he felt back in his eyes before. But when he felt a violent wave of power, no longer able to contain his fear. Without thinking, he shut his eyelashes tight, and in that moment, the power suddenly disappeared into his mind. Okay, now I want to, kind of explain to you exactly what exactly happened, because then Fugaku says, "What happened?" And then Itachi says, "I will change it." He thought to himself, no matter the reason, resolving things through violence was wrong. If the world was like this, then it has to change. This was molded into the core of the man called Itachi Uchiha. Now, that part is talking about the part where he sees all these things around him. He's seeing all this meaningless death. And apparently, in his eyes, he felt a violent wave of power. Now, normally, if a child, if an Uchiha, witnesses something very, very shocking, they awaken their Sharingan. Now, usually it's right away, and they, it's just there. But Itachi somehow felt this power. I'm not sure if it's a Sharingan or not, but it sounded like it. So it sounds to me like he had the power of the Sharingan, and just as it was about to awaken, he held it back. I don't know how that's even possible, but in the novelization, like on page 3 or 4, it says this, and I thought that was incredible. But obviously, the anime did not show that, so I wanted to share that with you guys. But yeah, that's the first part, the battlefield scene. That was pretty shocking, right? A 4-year-old. This guy is 4 years old, trying to understand why are they killing each other, And now he's saying, I want to change the shinobi world. I want to change the way it operates. Not just, one shinobi, but everything in the world, change how things are. He wants world peace, basically. Alright, so the next part we're going to move on to is called Meaning of Life. Inochi. Inochi in Japanese means life, and you'll hear this throughout the anime. It says this episode, it says Inochi, and now he asks at the at the gravesite, the gravesite of, the fallen from the Third Ninja War. He goes to the grave and he asks Orochimaru, what is the meaning of life, Inochi? And, because he's not quite sure. And then, he says, there is none. There is no meaning. Only if it is eternal, there is meaning. And so this is where Itachi goes on the cliff and jumps off. Also is kind of like symbolism. He's jumping, he's kind of trying to be more free, like a baby bird. And that's what the chapter is called. It's called A Baby Bird in the Dark Night, Unable to Fly Away. So the chapter title kind of references the actual crow that Itachi becomes, Now, we all know Shisui is kind of, the master of the crows, and that's how he got it. But actually, the novelization kind of shows that he evolves into a crow. So he's a bird to begin with, but he develops into a crow. And so after he falls off the cliff, he finally goes down, he sees all these, birds, all these crows, and they're all circling him, and then eventually one of them comes to him and is almost like communicating to him. And that's why I wanted to say something about this, because he asks the crow, what is the meaning of life? He asks the crow, so he's trying to communicate, not just with people, but, animals, birds, This was quite interesting. And also, this could also be symbolism for Shisui as well, because we all know Shisui has, the crow type character. Now, why do I say that? Because of his Mangekyo Sharingan. We all know that's where Itachi kind of got his, his power from. But anyway, I thought that was interesting because next week we're going to get the introduction of Shisui. So I thought that was quite interesting how, he's communicating with the crows, and it's almost like the crows are calling him. And next week we're going to meet Shisui. So I thought that was Alright, so I have another passage here to share with you about the meaning of life. It's very short. I'll try to keep this short. Basically, from the day that his father took him to the battlefield, Itachi continued training without resting for a single day. He had 1 year left before his expected admission to the Ninja Academy. He had to advance his skills as much as he could to convert himself into an excellent shinobi. That was his only objective. Why did he want to be an excellent shinobi? So that he could end all conflict in the entire world. He did not agree with his father's words, and shinobi live to kill each other. No. Ninjutsu and chakra were really made to simply to fight. This was his question. Itachi was absolutely sure that was not the correct path. He had one clear goal. He was going to transform into the strongest shinobi. That way, if he was stronger than everyone, maybe they would listen to him, and that way conflict in the world would disappear. That was kind of his goal, his ambition, his greatest ambition. Now, I will state that he did want to be Hokage eventually, but he soon learns this. But anyway, that's just a passage I wanted to share with you guys. So the next part we see is the birth of Sasuke. Now this scene, wow, okay, they did this scene really well. The birth of Sasuke, first we get, Itachi is kind of asking his mom, why are you going to the hospital? Are you sick? And he's like, no, you're going to have a baby brother or sister. And he's like, I want a brother. I want a brother. And, we get the scene where he's right up against her, stomach and almost listening to him. And he's like, I can feel it. It's a brother, It's all great to see this. And then, in the summer, we get the actual birth of him, and you see Fugaku smiling, you see Itachi actually, touching his cheek, And then he's thinking back to his childhood, and he's like, this is a new life. This is like me. You know, he's starting to understand a little bit what life is, you know, because a new life is right before him. It's all great to see this. And then, you know, in the summer, we get the actual birth of him, and you see Fugaku smiling, you see Itachi actually, you know, touching his cheek, and then he's thinking back to his childhood, and he's like, this is a new life. This is like me. You know, he's starting to understand a little bit what life is, you know, because a new life is right before him. I want to share something with you about the novelization, because in the anime, it was done really well. I like the symbolism, I like how the imagery is, but it didn't have a lot of words, you know. It did say, you know, his name will be Sasuke, you know, and Makoto's like, oh, you know, and he's like, I know, it's Hirizen's father's name, but I think it suits him well. And, you know, Itachi says Sasuke. Now, in the novelization, it is explained that on Itachi's 5th birthday, it was no importance to him. It was just a passing of another year, and nothing more. The fact that he was 1 year older didn't mean anything. But this year, there was a great change, and it certainly moved his very heart. The recently born infant looked around the room, trying to understand with all its might the situation it was in. Makoto saw Itachi pull his hand back in surprise at the reaction. She smiled, looking at Itachi. This is Sasuke. And he says, Sasuke? And the first time Itachi called out his name, there was a warm feeling that spread throughout his heart. Makoto says, watch over your little brother from now on, okay? And Itachi felt strongly as he touched Sasuke's cheek. Now, in the anime, it shows that scene where he touches his cheek. But you can see there's a little bit more, but not much. So it's very similar to the novelization. There's not a whole lot difference, so I really enjoyed how they did this. Point out another thing, because this kind of has to do with the birth of Sasuke. Kushina, okay? Kushina shows up to see what Makoto has, a boy or a girl. So we see Kushina, and she's, you know, playing with Sasuke, you know, and there's a really cute scene. I really enjoyed the scene, seeing Kushina and Mikoto together, you know. They were both very happy. It seemed like they're both going to have, you know, children, and they're going to both, you know, be friends. So they're already friendly. And the reason I say that is because the next scene we see Itachi, and he's, you know, at the dinner table, and he's like, is Lord Fourth also going to have a, you know, a child? You know, he's already thinking about Sasuke's friends. So that was really quite interesting, and it just shows the genius of Itachi, you know, thinking of only Sasuke rather than, you know, himself, you know? So he's very selfless. Anyway, I enjoyed that scene. Moving on to the bully scene, okay? Now why I say the bully scene is because Itachi goes to the, it just happens to be the same area. He goes to, you know, a grassy area, and it shows the, you know, memorial. It's not really a graveyard, you know, but it's that memorial of ninja who have passed on, you know, through the wars, and he's walking, and, you know, he sees this girl, and it's Izumi Uchiha. Now, the reason this is interesting is because it's also in the novel, but this is the first time we've seen Izumi's design. Now, there is no official design for Izumi in the novelization. There's no mention of a picture, their only name. So the name is the only thing in the novel. So it was nice to see the anime, and I liked how they did her design. It was very interesting. But yeah, she's walking towards him, and he just walks right by her. She says, let's play together, you know. This must be at school, maybe? I'm not really sure. or maybe it's after school. It really didn't say, but these kids were pissed off. There's 3 kids, and they're playing like kick the can or something. And anyway, they want Itachi to join, and he just walks right past them like he didn't even notice them. Now, keep in mind, this guy, his brain is only on one thing, and that is, what is the meaning to life? What is the meaning of a shinobi? And you can see him, he's saying it over and over. Umare, umare, shinu, umare, shinu, which means rebirth, death, rebirth, death. And this is right after Sasuke is born, so he's kind of getting a little bit at a time, but he's still unsure. And then those kids start, getting angry, and Sasuke's like, well, I gotta do shuriken training. And, those kids are like, well, we're gonna do shuriken training of our own. So then they pick up some rocks and they start throwing them at him. Now Itachi's just dodging them left and right, probably not even, knowing what's going on. It's just by instinct, he's just dodging them. And then he catches one, from behind, and then he tosses them and knocks all the rocks all off at once. Now that was pretty awesome. And of course Izumi is, yelling at them, Yamare, stop it. So that scene was interesting because we see what kind of child Itachi was. He was off on he's in his own world, really. He's in his own world, and it's really hard to understand him as a shinobi, but now we see him like this, and we're starting to understand him a little better. In the novelization, so that was the anime. In the novelization, I have it here, the first meeting of Izumi and Itachi. Now, in the anime, I'm not sure if that's the first one, but that's the first one they wanted to show, so it sounds like it was. But in the novelization, it's very different, so I'm going to share. Itachi goes to the Memorial Stone, passing some classmates, and one approaches him with a smile. You are Itachi-kun, yes? And he says, I am. I'm also from the Uchiha clan. And he says, I see. My name is Uchiha Izumi. I'm from the class next door. So she's not in his class, but she's in the school. That's what it sounds like. And Itachi says, and then she says, our path home is the same, right? And he's like, there's only one Uchiha compound, so of course it would be the same. And then she's like, so let's go together. And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry. And Itachi is going off to train with his shurikens, going off to do his shuriken training. Now, this is interesting because this is actually giving a little bit more dialogue, because we had no dialogue in the anime. But here, it's almost as if he answered her, but at the same time, he's just, off in his own world. Like I said, he's going off to training. He's just answering her and going off on his way. So the first meeting, that is what happens in the novelization. Now, next week, we're going to get into another scene. Now, there are more bully scenes, so there's another one that's specific that we'll go into next week in that review. So that's what happens here. Yeah, so So the last part of the episode, we see the attack on Konoha, but not the actual attack. We see the beginning, right before the attack. We see Obito using the Kamui, ready to go after the 4th Hokage, and obviously ready to unleash the Nine Tails on the village. Now, we see this full moon, and we see Itachi with baby Sasuke. So we're setting it up for that. We're understanding where we're going. But obviously, this is just showing Itachi with Sasuke. So that was very interesting ending. I liked how the way it's going right now. This scene is in the novel. So that was really well done. And next week we're going to be looking at obviously more of Izumi, Uchiha, and more from Itachi in the actual academy. So he's actually starting the academy, and now we're going to get more into Itachi's, friendship with Shisui. So that's going to be very interesting as well. And I've got passages to share with those as well. So I did another video on Izumi Uchiha, so check that out, by the way. And I'm going to be doing a series of passages for the novelizations and breaking them down and their understanding. So check those out. Those are coming probably soon, probably the first one, which will be the battlefield scene. I kind of laid it out a little bit in this video, but I hope you guys enjoyed my review on Itachi Shinden. Yeah, this is basically all from this novel. This is the Book of Light, the Book of Light, or Bright Future, which I call it.